Hello everyone, Harry Baldock here, editor at Total Telecom. I'm delighted to be joined today by Inbar Lasser-Raab, CMO of DriveNets, and today we're here to discuss cloud-native network architecture and the benefits it can have for service providers and their customers. Inbar, thank you very much for joining me today.
Hi Harry, it's great to be here.
Before we go any further, can you give us a little bit of information about yourself and your role, as well as about DriveNets itself?
Okay, so DriveNets is a company that builds network like cloud. And the idea behind it is really to transform this industry just in the same way that the hyperscaler cloud transformed our entire industry. My role is CMO and head of product strategy and product marketing for DriveNets. And I've been in networking my entire career. And I joined DriveNets just because I got really excited about the transformation that we're driving the market to.
The term cloud native is something that the industry is getting increasingly aware of and understanding. What would you say is the motivation for operators and service providers to adopt cloud native disaggregated architecture for their network?
So if you look at what cloud native, let's start, what do we mean by cloud native disaggregated network? If you look at what do we mean, we really mean three main things. First of all, our solution network cloud disaggregated the hardware and the software of the network infrastructure. What that allows us is to run the software on standard networking white boxes. So we can scale a network from very small to very large over the same white box building blocks. So that gives us great scale at lower cost. The second thing, it's a cloud native software, which means everything is in containers and microservices. So we can run multiple networks or multiple applications over the same shared infrastructure, just like cloud does today. And the motivation for service providers to do that is obviously always lowering costs. That's always the reason why they start talking to us. Using the same standard hardware, lower their CapEx, streamlining operation by running multiple networks, if it's core, peering, aggregation, over the same shared infrastructure, lower their OpEx. So it's always starting with how can we save money, lower our cost, scale our network. But the second motivation is way more interesting. We did multiple roundtables or multiple events that our customers and telcos have done. And when you ask them, why are you here? Besides lowering costs, they always say innovation. One of the hardest things in our industry is with monolithic routers, with monolithic software, when hardware is tied to the software, it's really hard to innovate, really hard to roll out services from multiple providers, from multiple application vendors. And that's what we enable. We really enable service providers to figure out where do they want to innovate, if it's home users, if it's enterprises, consumers, and then roll out those special services and capabilities, maybe self-provisioning to those customers, and really scale innovation across their network.
Can you tell us a little bit more about your customers and what parts of the network they're incorporating your technology?
Sure. So our biggest customer, and many people know, is AT&T. So AT&T selected DriveNets for the core, their backbone of their network. When we announced that exactly a year ago, people were surprised because we didn't announce that AT&T has chosen DriveNets. We've announced that AT&T has deployed DriveNets throughout their core. So we have now the largest backbone in North America running over our infrastructure, which shows that disaggregation works, white box concept works, software-based networking works. We now have 93 different telcos and tier one service providers around the globe, in Europe, in the United States, in North America, and also in Asia Pacific that are in various stages with us. If it's deployment, if it's testing, so certifications of various stages. I think I missed a question. So you asked who's using us. I think I answered that. You asked which use cases. Now I remember. It really depends. AT&T started on core. Other operators started with peering. So other operators started with aggregation and the edge infrastructure. So it really depends on the need, what part of the network service providers are now refreshing. I would start us in that use case. So either peering, core, aggregation, edge. And then over time, as they have more and more network to refresh, they may run those other networks over the same shared infrastructure. Because it separates containers, it's cloud architecture, you can really have different maintenance window and you can upgrade one network without touching the other. That's the beauty of software-based cloud native architecture.
There's clearly a lot of benefits, especially for networks at scale. But what would you say is holding back service providers from making this transition to a cloud model?
Okay, so you're asking me to expose our weakness, huh? So it's not a weakness. What's holding service providers back is really the concern that it's a new model. It's not one vendor providing everything, software, hardware. We provide a software, our partners, an ecosystem, multiple options of white boxes. So that kind of is a new concept. And the biggest concern is they want one throat to choke. Service providers are afraid that when there will be issues, there will be finger pointing between the different vendors. So to eliminate that issue, what DriveNets has decided to do is we're taking full responsibility of the full model. So we are the one throat to choke. Any issue, service providers call us, and we make sure that behind us, our operations center and support center coordinate the solution with the other vendors. So we remove that concerns off the table. And in fact, we work with a lot of system integrators, the same system integrators that service providers are already working with their incumbent networks. And one of them, KG Pico in North America, that works with our customer there, has actually shown that we are 60% faster in deploying the network than traditional models because of the agility of the building blocks, the ability to roll out things faster, less power need per rack because we're distributed. So there are a lot of benefits to the distributed, disaggregated model that are actually accelerating the deployment of the network.
The market in general is evolving really quickly at the moment. What do you see the market trends going in the next few years, and how do you see DriveNets fitting into that?
Okay, so we did a survey. We did actually a couple of studies. We did one study with heavy reading where 2 years ago when I joined DriveNets, we looked at the market and how they view disaggregation. And we've seen a lot of interest and appetite. Definitely 5G helped increase that appetite to test and try disaggregation. And we did the same study with the same analysts with Sterling Perrin this year. And we've seen how far we've came. So roughly 30 to 50% better, higher interest or deployment already of disaggregated model. So we really believe the market is going there because the benefits are so clear and strong, and because the cloud providers have succeeded with that model. But we also did a study with STL partners, which are very much participating in Total Telecom this year as well. And their study was more qualitative. They interviewed executives and network people who lead the network architecture and network operations at multiple service providers across the globe. And they found that to the most part, lots of interest, the values are very clear. So we really believe that the model is going to take off. Other analysts have predicted that in the next 5 years, we'll see more than half of the networks based on our model. So we're really hoping to be that agent of change, and we're seeing the engagement already.
Really exciting times, Inbar, and thank you very much for speaking to me today. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you very much.